How's it going, guys? Cracked Rack here, and it's been a little while since I've done a Lolcow video. But honestly, I'm kind of tired of ranting about Chris Chan's antics and piercing my nose for him and stuff, and even the likes of DSP Gaming isn't really entertaining me anymore. So I reached into a grab bag of Lolcows, and I realized that there's one Lolcow in particular who I've never discussed even once on this channel. He might not even be someone that's on your radar because the Lolcow community surrounding this particular individual is pretty insignificant. I'm of course referring to longtime YouTuber Doug Walker, known professionally as the Nostalgia Critic. Now the question of today's video is simply, is the Nostalgia Critic a Lolcow? To find an answer, we're going to be discussing some reasons why people may think so, as well as some of my past experiences watching the Nostalgia Critic. Now, this is not a hate video towards Doug Walker. I have nothing but respect for the man, and even if he is a bit of a lolcow, I don't hate him at all. Now, first we're going to talk about my experiences watching Doug and what I personally think about him. I have personally been watching the Nostalgia Critic and Channel Awesome for a very, very long time, since childhood. In fact, I grew up watching three YouTubers pretty consistently, and those YouTubers were Dr. Wolfula, AVGN, and the Nostalgia Critic. When I was about 14 years old, pretty much all I did with my time was watch these three YouTubers in my room in the dark. Now, my perspective of Doug Walker has significantly changed over the last 8 or so years. When I first started watching him, I was a wee boy and I thought his content was the shit. It was funny, it was really entertaining, and it had a really specific flavor to it that you couldn't really get anywhere else. And I liked the cast of characters in each video. It felt fun and unique and refreshing, because most videos didn't have something like a cast. So anyway, while Doug wasn't my go-to entertainer as a kid or anything, he was definitely in my top 5. However, as I got older and older, I started to really notice that Doug's content wasn't very good, at least not nearly as good as younger me thought. For one, the videos were just really cheap and crappy, and as time went on, this became something I couldn't ignore. Any costume Doug used in his videos to play a character from a movie looked like absolute shit that he just found at a Walmart for $30. Any special effect Doug used looked like a cheap green screen effect in Sony Vegas. And pretty much any skit that was in his review was complete unwatchable garbage. Even something as simple as standard lighting was too difficult for Doug to manage apparently because his videos had a piss yellow filter for literally years. You see, when I was younger, these skits weren't really factors in his videos. Yes, he had some skits in the videos, but the videos were almost entirely a review with some genuinely funny jokes sprinkled in there. But as I got older, the videos started getting more and more saturated with skits and ugly costumes and bad jokes and just unwatchable shit. To the point where when I was about 17, I kind of stopped watching him completely and haven't kept up since. In fact, in the last few years, I've only watched a handful of episodes of the Nostalgia Critic, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, overall, that's my experience with Doug and his content. I used to absolutely adore it, but over time started to realize just how awful it truly was. Now, since that time, Doug has made quite an asshole of himself. He's been releasing awful videos that are sometimes just 30-minute skit recreations of other movies, but all the costumes are Walmart costumes. He even released an album with Slipknot's Corey Taylor that was literally just a giant fuck you to Pink Floyd fans for some reason. Now, I've checked out a few Nostalgia Critic reviews in the last week, and I can say they've gotten a little bit better. The color correction's been fixed, there's almost no skits at all, and Doug seems to be focusing more on jokes than he did before, and some of the new videos are actually a little bit funny. But there are still a few glaring issues with Doug's current content that kind of puts him in lolcow territory. For one, he's completely lost the plot of the Nostalgia Critic. The point of being the Nostalgia Critic is to review really old movies that aren't as good as we remember them, while making tons of jokes. What has Doug been reviewing lately? Movies like 2017's Leap, or 2019's X-Men movie, or The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Where the fuck is the nostalgia in that? Those movies aren't even remotely good, let alone nostalgic. And the fact that he's reviewing these really boring, mediocre titles from only a few years ago really drags the entertainment value of his videos down, because to watch his videos, you also have to watch a large chunk of these shitty movies. And they aren't fun, shitty movies like The Room, they're just completely devoid of any value whatsoever. Doug does make much better jokes in these new videos, though they are comparable to dad jokes, but some do land and give me a genuine laugh. So overall, my thoughts are that Doug made shitty content for a long time, but he's definitely moved up to making mediocre content, which is a huge step above what he's been doing. Now, from all of this, is Doug Walker a lolcow? Well, let's look at the definition of a lolcow, why don't we? The Urban Dictionary of a lolcow is simply, a lolcow is a person you get extensive laughs from, who doesn't know they're being made fun of. They can often think they're being admired for what they're doing, but secretly are being laughed at constantly. From this definition, I would say yes, Doug Walker is a lolcow. His productions for almost 10 years now have been absolutely atrocious, bottom-of-the-barrel garbage. And instead of improving this quality, he's just kind of proudly simmered in his shitty content for years, acting as if it was high art that was really worthwhile. Now, I don't know if this counts as a reference, but I did watch Doug Walker's film To Boldly Flee with a friend a while back, and in that video, there are scenes where Doug Walker plays himself out of character and he's in love with himself. He gives speeches in that movie about how great he is and how great the nostalgia critic is, and overall, I think Doug does think very highly of himself, and that really shows in his work, meaning that yes, he is a lolcow. If he thinks highly of himself while putting out shit like this, he's a lolcow, plain and simple. Though amongst the lolcows, Doug would definitely be one of the least bad ones. He isn't gross, he's not unhealthy, he's pretty well-mannered, and at the end of the day, he's a successful businessman who's made quite a legacy for himself. Even if he is a very silly businessman who does very silly things every single day of his life. Anyway, that's all for today. See ya.